All right, we have 2 more to go. One more for the round of 8, and then we have 4 more drivers left. And what can you say, Eric? Wow.
Yeah, that
We, we,
that
we, we thought it could be. We thought there was possibilities out there that we could see some carnage.
yeah. What a wild chain of events that final stage was. I mean, you for a while look Larson was probably going to run away. Blaney was making some unexpected noise, which we talked about last week. This was a good track for him. We're curious what Ford could do. And then all hell broke loose, which I think further shows that can we put Homestead in that championship
Oh, yeah, I
mix
hope so.
again?
Yes, that would be
Because
awesome.
wow,
Yes.
that was a good race last week. So we now have. I think most of the playoffs we would have said Truex at some point is going to be fighting from behind, and now he is. But I don't know if anybody expected Hamlin to be the one also below the cut line
Yes.
where we sit right now. So, which I know we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, I think we know pretty much 3 of the 4. Byron being as far up as he is, I think he's pretty safe. So um, we got 2 spots left per se, but really I'd say you've got 5 drivers fighting for 1 spot on Sunday.
Yeah. Do they have all of that on their Twitter page? Do they update that at
Um,
all?
They
How it
should. I
actually
know NASCAR
works?
on NBC does right there, but I don't know if you want to go off of what you've got.
Yeah, that's true. We all set that up nicely. I could probably find it somewhere. You said NASCAR on NBC.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look at that in
Um,
the meantime. Yeah, because it happened so quickly too. Because what you're zeroing in on, of course, is just who's going to win the race and everything.
yep.
And then all of a sudden, you have you have this stuff happen where it's like one big time driver goes down and the other big time driver goes down.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Here it
It-
is.
yep. There we
Those
go.
those are the standings.
That's why I
So
said Byron. I mean, he's looking really good. He doesn't have to win Sunday, and Blaney's looking good. I mean, points wise, it could happen. I mean, Blaney was 17 down entering, right, and he
anything
comes
can
out 10
happen.
ahead. So
Yeah.
it basically shows Bushers must win.
Yep.
He's not pointing his way in. Blaney, Reddick, Truex, Hamlin are right there fighting for that final spot. I feel like on points because Byron. I mean,
You
30
think he's
points
just
up on those
gonna?
guys.
You think the chances are, unless he has a really really super fast car, do you think the chances are he's gonna play it safe?
I think you have to. I think you go stage points, just open that gap, and then because if it's 30 entering that final stage, that means these guys are going to have to finish 30 spots ahead of them.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're Byron, Larson, and Bell, you're just going to play it safe. I think Larson and Bell kind of swing for the fences in a way that they could go off strategy, but those 3 aren't going to rough up anybody. You don't want to have any enemies going to Phoenix. You don't want to be in any sort of drama. So I feel like those 3 are just going to run their own race, stick to their little bubble, and especially Byron. It does not. You don't want to have anything. You don't want to have a speeding penalty. You don't want to go aggressive with the setup and miss it, and you're outside the points the first stage, and you just qualify well, run up top 5, 6, 7 or so in both stages, and I think you're good. It's those other guys that to me is going to be interesting. I mean, you got a Penske. I think Reddick and Busher, we've talked about kind of playing with house money with 2311 RFK, but you got 2 JGR guys too. And that is going to be an interesting fight because
They're
Reddick
both
and
not
Busher
getting
aren't
in.
no, Reddick and Busher aren't the greatest at Martinsville. That's why I look at Blaney versus Truex and Hamlin, and one of them is going to get in, and all 3 of them are good at Martinsville, which I think should be real interesting. I also thought it's interesting the last 2 Martinsville winners, Larson being the spring race and Bell in this race last year, are the 2 winners that have locked themselves in.
They don't need it.
Um, nope. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be almost a barn burner between Blaney, Truex, Hamlin. Points
So,
are everything for those 3.
is there a situation at all? What would be the situation um, where one of the drivers, either Bell or Larson, or a non-playoff driver, would help by winning?
I think that helps Byron the most, naturally. Um,
So Larson really is going to try to win.
Yeah, I think that helps because Byron, you got to think.
He's 20 up on Blaney. Well, he's
20 up on Blaney because that's the only thing because we know one spot's getting the Phoenix on points because there's only 3 races and there's 4 spots. So right now that 20-point differential. I mean, let's be honest. Yes, it's probably looking like Truex or Hamlin or Blaney, one of them. However, if something happens to Byron early, let's say engine blows, transmission, something happens, he gets no stage points. Well, that gap to Blaney could significantly decrease if Blaney gets second place in both stages. Let's say he gets 18 stage points. Well, now that 30 is down. Well, that's down to 12. And then if Byron's already outside the top 30, Blaney just has to finish 12 spots ahead of him, which could happen. Which would then, if Truex or Hamlin wins, and there's your path where Byron's out. But it's asking a lot for Truex and Hamlin to catch him on top of that because they're 47 now. That's
tough. Yeah.
So their best shot would be Truex or Hamlin win.
Yeah.
Byron and Blaney have issues, and one of them, the other probably has to sweep both stages and finish it. They go 1-2. So no. So that's why I think Blaney's even sitting pretty good. For him, he's just stage points.
We'll talk about the stage points then. So Byron, if Byron, let's say after the first stage, is it possible that Byron gets a certain amount of points after the first stage and is home free?
Not really, because even if he does, the most he's going to get is 10. So that's 40 points. Well, and even if he finishes last, somebody. Yeah. Okay. So he would have to have none of them in the top 10. But he would make it significantly harder on them, the points his way. That's why if he just gets as many stage points as he can in stage 1, he's sitting really good. Yeah. Stage 2, do the same thing. And then it really doesn't matter at that point. If he's 40-plus points up, you're not going to finish 40 spots ahead of him when there's like 36 cars in the field. So, yeah, he could make it really hard for him and that stage, but he's not going to clinch it. But stage points are key for Blaney, Reddick, Truex, Hamlin. Those are the 4 that, and it's really going to know that's where I said Blaney could put a lot of pressure on them by getting a lot of stage points early too.
Yep.
Because right now, if you just take the stage points away right now, him being 10 up on Reddick and 17 on Truex and Hamlin, that means each position's worth a point. We hear that on the broadcast a lot, right? So Blaney is 10 spots on track ahead of Reddick right now and 17 ahead of Truex and Hamlin. So that's why I said if he just points them in stages, that helps his gap for that
and
final
doesn't
stage.
Get outpointed by too much.
Yeah, that's why that really positions himself for that final, 240 laps of, all right, I know that plus 10 is now plus 17. I've got 17 spots to work with here. So even if I start fading, that's okay. I don't need to fight so much. I don't need to risk damage. Just, hey, my car's not great enough anymore, but I'm going to let him go because I've got 17 positions I can work with here, which I think then would force Truex, Hamlin, maybe even Reddick, depending on how far he's down. They have to swing for the fence.
Yeah.
Then they're going to have to go off strategy. That's why I feel like Blaney's the one that's in control to really put the pressure on everybody else by just getting stage points. That's all he's really – don't screw anything up.
How crazy is that? Now, we talked about it over the past few weeks with Blaney.
I've been talking about that all season. Second place in both Phoenix races, and there he is.
With the big numbers you were getting, championship numbers, even last week, it didn't come down much after the penalty. 30-1, I believe it was after that. And now he's in the driver's seat. Doesn't mean he's going to get in. We just saw what happened last week. Anything can happen. But he's actually now in the driver's seat to get into Phoenix. And with what he's done there the last couple of trips, have to be considered one of the favorites.
You do. And plus, I don't expect much out of Cindric because he's been nowhere on the season. But Logano's pretty good at Martinsville too. Logano, and he's not afraid. I mean, the curious thing would be if Hamlin's winning, Logano's second. Does Logano make the move? Does Logano help his teammate? And Get Hamlin out of the way. Get Truex out of the way. Does Logano play a role into this?
Yeah.
That's the other factor involved because, Blaney's got more people on his side, I feel like, right now, just by the numbers. Ford does not want to get shut out of the championship four.
And
So,
if
that Ford
wins the race,
that further helps Blaney.
That's going to help Blaney, yeah.
So, he's in a good position. It's just, can they maximize it? Now it's time to execute.
And, I mean, it really would be something if we did get the top four, which are in right now. And the way the season's gone, it's not going to happen. Something else weird is going to happen probably. But if we did, having Bell, Byron, and Blaney in there with an opportunity for their first championship.
It'd be
that would be.
I've got an article up right now about how it's kind of the changing of the guard per se, just in the fact, in the standpoint of Bell. He's never won a championship. This would only be his second championship four. Larson's got one. He has one championship four. That was 2021. So both Bell and Larson have two championship fours each. Byron's never been there. Blaney's never been there. Reddick's never been there. Buscher's never been there. You're really down to Truex or Hamlin. Hamlin's never won a championship. You got really let's just say the championship four stays chalk right now with these standings. You got one championship total there. That's it. One championship, which that's also saying something. And then you look at, I think the regular season, it gets you so far, but if you look at the season as a whole, and I got the stat here, Larson's finished, here it is, 13 finishes outside the top 20. 13.
Yeah.
He's in the championship four.
Bell,
he had one top 5 in 20 races. He's in the championship four. Blaney had 2 top 6s in 20 races. He could get in the championship four. I think Byron's been the most consistent out of all of them. I mean, because we could do the same thing for Reddick. Truex has been non-existent on the playoffs. All but one finish has been outside 17th or worse. So it goes to show. I mean, even Byron, he's got 9 top 10s, 6 top 5s over the last 10 weeks. But the 10 weeks before that, 3 top 10s, 1 top 5.
Yeah.
So it shows that it ebb and flows.
You just can't have the bad stretch now.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
It goes to that. Yeah. You really can't have one bad race. I think Hamlin proved one bad race can take you completely out of this thing. So.
And again, you take a look at Truex, and this hasn't been just a small thing. And we've been talking about it throughout most of the playoffs. There's just nothing there. And we mentioned last week that this was his opportunity. Got into the top 10. Now maybe you have some momentum, even though we know that was almost like a phony top 10. It didn't have anything in that car. The fact that he finished in the top 10 was crazy, but hey, positive momentum. Nope. Not at all. No positive momentum for Martin Truex Jr. And unfortunately, he's out. And he has one last chance now, which more than likely is going to have to be a win, how is that going to happen? How is he all of a sudden going to win?
Yeah, I didn't feel good taking him. Granted, we'll get into our picks later, and he's one of my few. I didn't feel good about it. It's like, man, we talked last week. I need to see a top 5 before I pick him to win. But knowing what's at stake, I just threw him in there. But I don't feel good about it. I feel like he's had too many bad races. It's like it eventually catches up to you. Just like baseball last night, the Astros they weren't good at home, and you knew eventually he was going to catch up to them. Well, Game 7, they lose at home. Truex has just not been good this postseason. You knew he was going to eventually catch up to him, and it's hard to fathom a guy like that making the championship for it. He's just been too bad.
I'm even having a hard enough time thinking about Denny Hamlin winning the race at 3-1 odds because of the way he's starting to struggle just a little bit.
Yep. I feel like, though, he's one of my other few picks. For him, I feel like he's been questioned so much about not being clutch and not being good in these moments, and he's been so outspoken how this year's different. I think he's going to be a wrecking ball. I think it's going to be like he's driving a tank out there on Sunday.
You better get out of his way if you're one of those, especially if you're somebody that if you're Bell or Larson, Yeah.
I think if your name is on this screen of the playoff, the get out of his way,
Yeah.
he's moving you. And it honestly, I think if you're just anybody in the field, I feel like sometimes when Hamlin's back is against the wall being questioned as much, we've seen him. He takes no prisoners. That guy's coming through, and I feel like 3-1 was so low for him this week.
Yeah.
But with what I just it's hard to fathom him. He's winning or he's wrecking on Sunday. There is no in between for him. It doesn't do him any good to finish that. Granted, unless Byron and Blaney have troubles early and he's points racing, that's a different story. But Martinsville's been so clean lately. There hasn't been a lot of cautions. It hasn't been the old Martinsville. We've seen people just dumping each other. Other than Chastain's crazy move last year, I just don't see a lot of attrition happening. So that's why. And if attrition's going to happen, it's surely I don't expect it to be the third and fourth place car at points right now. They've been too good to get to that point. Why would they all of a sudden struggle? It could be the guys that have struggled that are below the cut line in that situation. So we'll see.
Remember, we talked about this when CJ did not back Blaney, talking about winning.
Yeah,
and we went over the scenario. He can get in without winning. It's not about that. And now we didn't think that was probably the case. After last week, it looked more unlikely. But then it just completely opened up to, he does not have to win.
No, and we could probably segue that to the Larson video of why he was in that situation is because, like we've talked about with Blaney, we knew he wasn't going to have necessarily the fastest car shot to win. Granted, he had a faster car than we expected, but this whole Larson incident, Blaney knew, don't screw it up. I'm leading. He can't afford speeding penalties. He can't afford missing shifts like he did last year, spinning. So Blaney took it conservative coming to pit road. He was going well below the speed limit coming to it. Larson, on the other hand, that's why he closes up to him so much. He was being aggressive. He knew, hey, track position's a thing still, and I got to be aggressive coming on the pit road. I've already won. I can try to be aggressive because if I'm speeding, oh well. Well, it kind of hit him with Blaney going slower than he expected, and that was the result we got. That's why that was it was a changing race because if you look, Bell sitting there on that board ninth, he just pit. That helped him. That's the whole reason Bell had the track position is he already pit, and these guys are now pitting, and that's why it flipped him to the front and changed this whole race. It took probably your race winner out, and Blaney got lucky he didn't get rear-ended there.
Do you think if Larson didn't have that win, do you think he's moving the car to the left instead of going right into the barrier?
I think if he didn't have that win, I think he's doing like Blaney is coming to pit road right there. I think he's taking it easy because you don't want to do a speeding penalty there. I think he was flying. He was trying to close that ground so much. And I don't think he realized how slow Blaney was going because Blaney, like we keep saying, don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't beat yourself. And that's why Blaney was going way below the speed limit right there. But he did so on purpose. He's like, I'm thinking, hey, I can't speed. I'm just going to hit pit road with the lead. Don't do anything stupid. And he played it conservative where Larson was aggressive. I think if Larson hadn't won yet, then Larson probably keeps it like Blaney does because you don't need a speeding penalty. That's your last pit stop probably. That's your money stop. And I would be curious if in an alternate universe, if Larson doesn't hit the wall there, I think that's a heck of a battle between those two for the win. I think that ruined Blaney's chance of winning too. He had a better long run car, and he admitted that. But he did it right. He didn't shoot himself in the foot. And I think that's why, to your point, what we've been saying to Blaney all year, he's not making those mistakes that he would have made in years past. Years past, that would have been a Blaney speeding penalty, a loose wheel, a bad pit stop. He did what he had to do there.
Yeah, the team is definitely much better this year than last year, the whole team.
And that's how you make up a difference. That to me is a championship winning move per se right there compared to what a normal race is because he took it easy. He's 17 below the cut line entering. He gets 18 stage points, and he's at the final coming to what would have been his final stop in the lead. That's what you have to do with a car. And let's be honest, Larson had a faster car over the long run, Blaney was a top 5 car, and he maximized that. He still finished in the top 5. So, but good, more power to him. That was exactly what he needed to do. And that's why I'm also not off the Larson bandwagon, because look, he led the most laps. That was just a mistake, and he had to go for it.
Sure.
There's nothing else.
Oh, yeah. It's winning this week and winning a championship are definitely going to be two completely different things. Yep. So now, a little bit later on, we can take a look at the battle that took place here.
Yeah, this is where Bell came from nowhere. That's why Bell now had the track position. I think it shows where track position's key. Bell was 22nd at the end of the second stage, and now 38 to go. He's finally in the top 5, and there he is going for the lead.
Yeah, this little thing going on there, that was getting me nervous.
Oh, yeah.
That was right like, Hamlin was getting a little bit like, what are you doing, dude?
And that's why Blaney was pissed at Hamlin. Blaney was not happy. That's kind of where all that started, with him called him a clown, and that's what you get for hitting the wall. And Blaney was not thrilled with Hamlin, and that kind of stemmed right there, kind of running him up. But
yeah, so very fortunate that nothing happened there. Blaney fortunate twice.
Yep,
that nothing happened, because either incident might have put him in a position where he would need to win to get in this week. So, but got away with it, and that's, whether or not you want to call it luck or whatever, but other drivers who may not be able to handle the pressure might have put themselves in a bad position, and that's the difference between winning a championship and not. And then this one, this is basically the scenario where it just happened. It seemed like it happened. What was the how many laps or what time went on between the difference between Hamlin and Truex going out?
Like 5 minutes, if that. It was sort of the same caution. So Hamlin, they never did fully say still. They think it was a broken part. Something happened that caused his car to rocket in the wall. I mean, he didn't just do that on purpose, naturally. Something broke. And then you get Truex was radioing that something felt wrong with the engine, and it was sputtering, and they take it behind the wall. And from what I heard, it was diagnosed as a blown motor. So within 5 minutes, they were both sitting good above the cut line to they're both out just that quickly.
Crazy. I didn't have time to digest when the one went down. It was like, all right, that's cool. And then the other when I was like, wait a second, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, like what happened? you looked at the end of those. Yeah, and then you look at the end of the race. So you had Larson, Truex, Hamlin, all three from 46 laps on, all issues, which hands it right back to Bell and Blaney and Byron. It just completely changed the whole aspect of that race.
It was crazy. And so that's how it could happen nowadays in NASCAR with the playoff format. And that's why they wanted it. They wanted this sort of drama, and they definitely got it. And again, we both agree that Homestead was a winner, and we hope that in the coming years they can get back to making Homestead a championship track now that they have the new car, and the new car and Homestead are a really nice combination. So,
hey, there's enough laps, enough lanes. There's enough to have chaos, but not too much chaos where it was just like, hey, there's 12 cautions. This thing won't end. That was a perfect amount. I think that was well done for that show.
Futures, so they're getting a little
now we're getting crazy.
Spread out. Bell all of a sudden to 2-1. Now that's not going to stay like that next week. So if you like Christopher Bell, just wait till next week. Don't touch him now. Same thing with Larson.
Yeah.
Don't touch these guys now. There's no reason to.
More than likely, they're before. I think I remember the last couple of years they've all been 3-1 or 4-1. They're going to put them all the same odds. Yeah, so don't. That's why I punted on those top three. There's no reason to. Wasting
now
money.
Here again. If you missed out on Blaney, when we told you at 30 or 40-1 or whatever the hell he's been over the last month or two, okay, it is what it is. But you're still getting 9-1. So if you've completely missed, you still have a chance. You can still put money on him and make. And the same thing now with Denny Hamlin. Now, I cannot see how Martin Truex Jr. is going to win 2 races in a row.
No.
I can't see it. I mean, how is that going to happen? That he would have to do something that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I don't see it. Plus, I was looking at the Phoenix stats ahead of time. Like he's not been great there lately either with this next gen. Plus, another thing with Blaney with that 9-1 sitting there, Toyota didn't lead a lap at Phoenix Spring. They didn't lead a lap in this race last year. And they also didn't lead a lap at Phoenix in the spring race last year either. So with this next gen, Toyota has 0 laps led. So Blaney gets there, 9-1. I think you might as well double down. That's why if you had to say, hey, you're going to bet future this week and next week, just who do you take? I think 9-1 Blaney right now, because that's 9-1 this week, probably 4-1 next week, and you're going to make out pretty good. Because, like I said, Larson, Bell, Byron right now, they're not even intriguing to go with.
Yeah, no, forget that.
Go all in on Blaney. Reddick, this isn't a good track for him at Martinsville again. I don't see him winning 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Busher, I feel
it's over.
Not a good track for him either.
Hamlin's the only one. See, Blaney doesn't have to win to get in, so he doesn't have to win. Then he can win next week, so he doesn't have to worry about 2 in a row. Hamlin can win 2 in a row. We know that can happen. Yep. And it's not like he's been as cold as Truex either. So
no.
And we've gone through the whole list of his results this year and recently. And so you take out the Roval, which is a different track anyway. Even though this was a normal track, the fact is something happened to his car. That just doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, well, he was battling for the lead.
Yeah.
So it's like I tell you, he was up there. That's not. I don't look at it. If he was 20th and then wrecked, then I might be a little more questionable. But no, he was battling for the lead, and something happened. So that's a different story. And you're going to a track, and this is his home track, or he considers Martinsville one of his home tracks, and he's won 5 times there. So 11-1 is a solid number when he's been around that 5-6 to 1 for most of the season.
Yeah, he's been around. Especially he dropped from, just taking a look at even just whose odds are these? These are. Yeah, let me take a look at even taking a look at your odds on how many times you've taken Hamlin. I'm going all the way. We're still at 5 or 6, 7-1, July 26th. 7-1. Everything else has been 6-1, 5-1, and now it's 11-1. And
off of one race.
Yeah, and this is as good as a number you're getting in Hamlin all year, and maybe he doesn't have to win the race. Maybe something does happen to Blaney, and he can. And once something happens to Blaney, now Hamlin and Truex and maybe even Reddick, they're like, hey, we don't have to win this race now. Now we can actually just points our way in. So that's still possible. But come on, let's go into this and talk about the race, because as you mentioned, Hamlin is the favorite. And so 3-1 is the big, that's the bad thing, but it's still under the way we wager. He's just, you have to go with him. It's, and we all took him. Not that, I mean, you were the only one that went heavy on him, as well you should, because he's like the one that you feel the most confident that can win, that needs the win. And that's a really nice combination. So you've put 3 of your $400 invested on him, which makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned not only the 5 wins, he's had over 2,200 laps led in his career in 35 races. He's led 36 or more in 5 of his last 6, 100 or more in 3 of his last 6, including 203 laps in this race last year and 276 laps in a race in 2021. So even when he's not winning, he's put together 18 top 5s in 35 races, which, if you do a little math, tells you that it's over 50% of the time he's in the top 5 in his career at this racetrack.
And then you look there's not really a lot of tracks either you can compare. Like, oh, what do you do at this track? And because Martinsville's unique, you got those long straights and the short corners. So I just took short tracks in general. How's he looked on the
Yeah, that's a
Bristols and
good
the
tool.
Richmonds?
Yeah, a basic tool. Nothing more.
And he's got 5 straight top 7 finishes on him. He won. He was runner up at Richmond, and then the regular season, and he won at Bristol in the opening round, which is also an elimination race in the first round. So it makes sense for those odds. Plus, a little trend: Joe Gibbs Racing, Penske, and Hendrick have won 16 of the last 17 Martinsville races. Just those 3 teams. Okay. And the 4 of the last 6 are Hendrick. There's been 8 different winners in the fall race too, 8 in a row, and Hamlin's not one of them. So that Blaney. Trend's going. Neither is Blaney,
and neither is
Truex is one of them. Reddick's not either. I got the list: Junior, Gordon, Johnson, Kyle Busch, Logano, Truex, Chase, Bowman, and Bell are here. That's it. That's the list. I believe 6 straight fall races, 6 straight Martinsville races, Hendrick has finished second place. Not saying they didn't win the race either, but they got 6 straight times the drivers finished second. And
last year, in April, I mean, Ford really was the strong car, even though Chevy won with Larson, because as crazy as it was, that was the race that Ryan Preece led 135 laps. Came out of nowhere in a Ford. Briscoe led 109 laps in a Ford, and 4 of the top 7 finishes in the race were Fords.
Yep, they qualified well. It's weird as track position's key here, but the last 7 Martinsville races are won by a driver coming from 5th on back too. So qualifying's not the end all be all, but it does. Remember that's when Stuart Haas, the pits strategy, they just weren't great in the pits. So. More times than not, probably don't want to overthink it. Penske, Gibbs, Hendrick are probably your 3, and that's why I kind of went all in. And I looked at the Hendrick camp, and Byron doesn't have to win. Larson, yes, he's got 2 straight top 2s. You don't get the feeling he's necessarily going to go out and win this week. Bowman could be a sleeper. I know we'll get to him. Elliott, I just feel like is checked out, and that just leaves Gibbs and Penske. And why not? With Hamlin, Truex, and Blaney could use some wins. They're the safer picks, I should say.
So overall, you said because I just want to double check with the starting positions. So we taking a look at the starting positions for, again, earlier this year, Larson actually started 19th. Yep. So 3 of the last 4 started outside the top 10, and then it was a lot more top 10 and for a while. But if we're just talking the new car, I mean, the last 2 were 19th and 20th.
Yep, 5th with Byron, the spring race of the first. So, I mean, even go to
pole winner since 2013, and Jimmy Johnson. Yep. Yeah, he had a back-to-back pole.
Yeah, and then really, I think is that the last front row. I believe that's the last front row starter too.
Yeah.
So
just like last week.
Yep. This whole round has been kind of that way. So I mean that's why. Yeah, it was 5th on back was kind of your best. For some reason, for this being a short track, 5th on back seems to be the place that you want to look for.
Before I move on, I just want to, you probably be looking at that ticker on the bottom of the screen that says that we are looking for you viewers to subscribe to our new motorsports channel. And it's called Mystery Caution, and it's going to be available right now. So, and we're going to have a link in the description area of this video. So all you have to do is click the link, subscribe to the channel. And the reason you want to do that is because starting next week, our last show for the 2023 season for the NASCAR Cup Series will be our first show on our new motorsports channel. So that's going to be called Mystery Caution. Now we are still going to have videos on Prime Sports Network, but it'll be more like the parent channel to a bunch of other sister and brother children channels, and that's exactly what the Motorsports channel Mystery Caution is going to be. So that is going to be an exclusive. That's zeroing in on F1, IndyCar, and NASCAR, and we're going to let you know more about why that is on next week's show. So we'll fill you in with the whole reasoning behind this, but next week you need to go subscribe to Mystery Caution YouTube channel in order to watch the show. So, and who knows, maybe we'll even do a live show. It's possible. So we might do that. And we're hoping to get CJ on as well, of course, for our last show.
Yep.
So, all right, let's get back to it. So now there's a big jump, and we've got Byron and Larson at 7-1. See, that's the thing that's just a little bit too weird, is that we understand Hamlin being the favorite if you want to put him as the favorite, but he's 3-1, and then the next guy is 7-1. It's like, well, wait a second. Yeah, that's a I don't know, because keep this in mind. This is important, that even though Hamlin has been very dominant here in his career, if we're talking winning, okay, he hasn't had a top 5 since 2015 at Martinsville, and he hasn't had a top and that's what, 0 for his last 16. That's a long time to not have a win when you're saying, well, he's 3-1 and I got to bet him to win. That's the thing that if this wasn't a win and you need to get in, I would not be touching Denny Hamlin at 3-1. I don't think he would be 3-1 because of that. And that's why I think Vegas has him at 3-1, because they know how much Denny Hamlin needs to win the race too.
Yep. They know his personality, and that's why he's there. Because same way. If this wasn't that situation, I don't think he's going to be as aggressive. And they're basically saying, hey, we think he's going to be aggressive too. So I look at it as, this is his championship 4 starting now. He's got to win anyways. These are probably similar odds you're going to get him for next week. So if you feel good about him being in the championship, he's got to win now. You might as well just bet it, because he's going to take no holes barred anyway. So, but the Larson, he only led the final 30 laps in the spring race, and he was runner-up last year.
Just like Bell did last week.
But you look at, out of his last 17 Martinsville tries, 11 of them, he's finished outside the top 15. And with him not needing a win, I just struggled even at 7-1. Like he used to be a fade until these last few. I just didn't trust it. And Byron, I do feel like he's going to have a good run, but like we talked earlier, he doesn't need to get aggressive. He doesn't need to do anything dumb. He's got 6 top 8s in his last 8 Martinsville tries. But the thing that's scary,
but again, if he is fast.
Yes.
That's the thing. If he's fast, and now that he's gotten those, because he's going to want, like you said, he wants those stage points. So that means he's going to have to try to be aggressive early enough. And again, am I saying aggressive meaning he's going to start trying to, cut down cars and stuff like that? But just, hey, I got to get points. I got to be up at the front. Once that's over, hey, if something happens where he finds himself in 6th or 7th in the 3rd stage, well, now, sort of like what we were talking about with Reddick at the Roval. Well, now we're in trouble. If you put money on Byron the way we did with Reddick that week, because I put some of my money on Byron this week. But if he happens to not get any problems and he's right there, he's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and he's been like that most of the race, well, he's not just going to tank it. He's going to try to win it. So he's still going to have a chance to win the race, sort of like Reddick a few weeks ago.
Plus, I want to see if he could bring speed, because if you look at it, he was 23rd there in the spring race. He didn't have much speed. And he's been 21st or worse in 4 of his last starts on short tracks on the season. So he hasn't had much speed on these type of tracks. Granted, over the last 10 weeks, he's got 9 top 10 finishes and 6 top 5. So he's had speed. Does he have speed this weekend? That's what I kind of want to see is, does he have race-winning speed? He doesn't need to have it this weekend, but can he bring it? Because he has to have it next. So,
sort of like, again, Bell and Blaney last week, where they didn't have a great resume at the track. Blaney better than Ben Bell, and yet they needed it, and they and almost both of them got it, because you only have one winner. So we're not saying Byron needs it, but in a way he does. Again, he wants the stage points, so he's going to be up front. So it's going to be important early enough. But yeah, I agree with you because he's only had one race where he's ever done anything really. He does have some top fives there, but he led 212 of his 221 career laps led at this track in the one race. Last April, not this past
Yeah,
April, but April of 22.
April before. And you remember that was one that Chase Elliott swept both stages, and he was the one that had that issue on pit road and handed it to Byron. And that was the night race where it's cool, tires weren't falling off, nobody could pass. It was more whoever was leading as long as you didn't screw it up. When really you could say that for most of Martinsville this last few years. Whoever's leading, don't screw it up. Priest screwed it up in the spring race. Then Briscoe kind of messed it up. So
is that a team thing? Don't screw it up, or
yes, pit stops, pit road, just pit strategy. You got to have the whole factor together. So yeah, I'm curious with them, but I didn't necessarily like them at 7-1 per se to snag either. Especially when I'm going heavily on Hamlin anyways.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now Keselowski is sort of like Hamlin with the odds. It's like, wait a second, what's he doing at 8-1? I mean, come on, he's ahead of Truex and Blaney and all these other playoff drivers. And if you look at it, yeah, he had a big Las Vegas, and even last week he had his moments, but the end result wasn't all that great, of course. So but there's a couple of factors, positive and negative. I gave you some of the negative, including the odds. The other negative with the new car, he's done nothing in the 3 races. So there's that. And even though he's led 898 laps, only 15 have been in the last 8 races combined since he led 446 of 500 laps in his 2019 win. On the good side, yes, this is the best he's driven collectively in the past few months, and he hasn't won yet this year. Short track, all 3 races, top 10s, and he's driving a Ford. So that's the reason I put a little bit of money on him. And will the trend continue for another year of a non-playoff driver winning a round of 8 race?
Yep, he'd be one of the top at the list. I didn't like his odds. I thought that was really extreme for them to put him there. I was expecting him to be more 15, 16-1 because he does have good stats, but he's not in the round of 8. That shocked me.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would be one of the top plays because remember his finish last year was actually top 5. He got a DQ for a right height or something afterwards. So he had a top 5.
When was that?
The playoff race last year.
Oh, last year. Track. Okay.
Yep. I want to say it was like 3rd or 4th. I can't remember exactly where he finished because if you look it up now, it's going to say last because he was DQ'd. But he actually had a top 5 car. And he's been good. We said he's got 6 top 5s his last 10 starts at Martinsville. So I didn't like the number, but if anybody non-playoff wise could win, definitely him. It's just baffling that they don't need him to. They need Buescher, but he's better.
Yeah,
he's better
it's just the timing. Yeah, it's now it's his time. He's the one that's doing better for whatever reason. Yeah, that is strange. You would think that all of the information and the best of the best goes to Buescher, but apparently that's not working out.
No.
And then you've got Truex at 9-1, and come on. Yes, he was 3rd this year. That's the good thing, but no top 5s in his last 11 races overall. No laps led with the new car. 0 in the 3 races with the new car, including 3rd place finish this year. So I know you put money on him, but in a situation, I can see why you did. Because he is going to have to swing for the fences in general. It's just going to be shocking if he qualifies well, practices well, and wins the race. I'd rather just him, because like you said, the track position doesn't matter. So maybe, if you're going to pick Truex, you're probably just better off just waiting. And then maybe you get 10, 12-1. Who knows? It's possible.
Yeah, you're better probably betting him futures if you think, because you're getting 15-1. What was it? I forget.
15-1.
He's going to have to be there anyways.
Yes. Because if he can get into the final, the way things look right now, hey, anything's possible. Now he can win the championship.
Exactly. I don't trust. That's why I only went $50 on this week. 9-1, but I went 50, just almost more of a hedge with a little bit of a profit in because, he's won 3 of the last 8 at Martinsville. As you said, they were with the old car. He just he won the Coliseum this year, which is a tighter turn radius. So I know you could go that point. He won Loudon, which is long straights and turns. So he's got some things you can point his direction, but I just don't like the way he's running right now. I mean, his last top 5 was Michigan. That was it. I mean, everything's been 17th or worse other than Vegas. Even when he's on the pole
Nothing in the
last week,
playoffs.
no. And it's just hard to think you're just going to all of a sudden magically turn it on for the final 2 races. I just feel like his magic has run out. I just feel like it's done. But for 9-1, knowing the situation, I went with him because I just feel like somebody around this bubble that's going to need a win to get in is going to end up. They've got to be aggressive. Somebody's going to do it. I feel like between them, so I might as well take all 3. That's the reason I took the 3 that I went.
I mean, if you look at it from the Martinsville race, like the dirt race, through Watkins Glen, that was the time that he had a good season.
Yep.
Did not get off to a good start the first
Nope.
7 races, and has not gone good the last 11 races. So but when he was getting hot with the 3 wins and a bunch of top 5s, it was like everybody was just goo and gaga that he was going to be the man. How many times we say this? It's a long season, and it just got to get hot late. Doesn't matter if you're hot in the middle.
Yeah,
or
late
or
is where you. Well, that's why the guys that are right now looking for the championship 4, they all struggled in that stretch that he was good at, and now really hot in the stretch that he's bad at. I mean, that's the way it is. I said Byron, as I made that stat earlier, he's got 9 top 10s and 6 top 5s over the last 10 weeks. He had 3 top 10s and 1 top 5 in 10 weeks prior. Blaney, I mean, you could even go with him. I mean, he had 2 top 6s in 20 races. He's got 3 in the last 4 now. He's heating up. Larson, he's been feast or famine, but you take out reckon-wise leading, he's been doing better. I mean, he's got 4 top 4s in the playoffs. Byron, who said Bell, I mean, he's got what, four top 4s in his last 6. He had 1 top 5 from Bristol dirt race till Kansas playoff race. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Look at Blaney. Blaney had his win at the Coke 600. No top 5s until his win at Talladega, and then runner-up. So no top 5s that entire stretch. Then he gets a win and a runner-up in 4 races, and he's on the good side looking to get in.
Yep. That's why he did what he had to do these 2 rounds. I mean, 6th and 2nd. We knew that coming in, he probably wasn't going to have a car to win either one of those. He was good. I don't think he was great. I would say he was great for Homestead. I don't think he had the fastest car, clearly, because in the end, when it came down for the final restart, he finished second.
About another 5 or 10 laps. Then I think he would have overtaken Bell.
Yep. He's second, 6th in Vegas, gobbled up a bunch of stage points, and now look at him. So now we're at 2 good tracks for him. So it's just all about what tracks are good for you and heating up when it's time. And Truex doesn't have it. That's why I don't feel good about that 9-1. But on the off chance he wins, I hedged a little bit and got $50 out of it.
And we all took Blaney at 12-1. So, and we said this in the last couple of weeks. It's a good track for Blaney because he has 7 top 5s in his career, and they've all come in his last 12 races. Matter of fact, he's finished in the top 12 in 11 of his last 12 with 7 top 5s and 2 runner-ups. 7th this year, 3rd and 4th last year. Now, the short tracks have not been good for Blaney this year. But again, if what happened last week, I don't think any of that matters. And if at some point in the race he feels like he's in position to win and he may have to win for whatever reason, then yeah, I mean, why not put money on him? And because I don't think that as much as he wants the stage points, he's not in Byron's position. He's definitely going into the race feeling that he's got to win. That's the mindset. You have to have. And then at the end of the race, if he finds out I don't have a winning car and there's 50 laps to go, okay, what's my situation? What do I have to do? Do I have to? Again, this is only if the other cars are maybe outdoing him points wise in the stages, and he knows he doesn't have a winning car. But still, he's driving a Ford, and that's a bonus. And then to stay on top of the Penske Ford camp, so Logano's next at 14-1. I put money on Logano. to hedge my bet there because I thought, why not? I mean, he's 15 of his last 19. And again, this is going to help Blaney out too. 15 out of his last 19 have been in the top 10.
Yep.
9 of those top 5s, 2 runner-ups and a win. And his 1,123 laps led have all come in the last 19. So before that, he had his first 10 races at this track, never led a lap. So that just shows you how dialed in Logano and Ford and Penske specifically kind of has been, and that's Blaney's camp. Logano was second this year, and he was pretty good at Richmond. But again, I don't really care about that. Fact is, Logano, matter of fact, there's 2 runner-ups with the new car at Martinsville. So I thought he was a no-brainer, especially, if you're looking at non-playoff drivers. You got Logano, you got Keselowski. The big difference is I'm getting 14-1 with Logano.
Yeah, Logano, if I didn't go Truex, I was going to sprinkle Logano and Bowman. I think those are the 3. Keselowski, Logano, Bowman are your 3 non-playoff drivers you're gonna want to watch this weekend. Logano, like I said, runner-up, Penske car, definitely helped Blaney by running up front. He's good at Martinsville. And then you look at short tracks this season, 11th, 7th, 2nd, 31st, 2nd, 4th, 34th at Bristol, but we know he got caught up in that crash at Bristol. So he's had a top 5, 6, 7 car on short tracks, and him being there can help his teammates. So 14-1 was
to win in order to help his teammate.
14-1 was a good number for that. So I do like that.
Yeah. I mean, look, seriously, if Logano's in the playoff race right now and you switch Blaney and Logano, or even, just switch them, I'm telling you, Logano's probably 7-1.
It's funny you said. I was going to say the exact cut it in half. He's with Larson. He's 7-1.
Yeah.
And the only reason why he's not in the playoffs, but that for them, as I mentioned last week about focusing for tracks next year, about changing things, this is a short track. You don't really need to do that here because Aero is not a big play. And he was second in the spring race. They need him up front to help his teammates. So this isn't going to be one of those like, hey, let's punt on him and you do the R&D stuff. No, if anybody, will be Cindric. Logano, they need somebody banging it up front to help Blaney out. And knowing that he can do that, you want him up there. You're going to give him what he needs. So, yeah, I think this is 14-1 that's kind of that sleeper steal just sitting there. Especially if you get him for a top 5. You bet him a top 5 too is not a bad play.
Reddick is next at 15-1. And see, Reddick, it's just his average finish is 20th at this racetrack in 7 starts. He's never led a lap. He was 22nd this year. The only good thing is he's going well. I have no idea how he finished 3rd last week. I'll admit that. I mean, he looked like he wasn't even. I mean, at best, he looked like he was like a 9th or 8th place car. Yep. And how he finished 3rd, wow. But still, it just didn't really help him all that much. And he hasn't been all that great on the short tracks either. So not a Ford, not great on the short tracks this year, never led a lap at this track. I'm surprised he's even 15-1.
I was too. That was the one, as you see, that out of the bubble drivers, he wasn't one that I did take. I mean, 16th or worse in 6 of his 7 Martinsville starts. Even short tracks this season. 3rd in Phoenix, that's good. 16th, 22nd, 7th, 6th, 16th, 15th. Just not good. And I don't see any reason why he's all of a sudden going to be good on this track. I think he knows it's probably the end of the playoff reign. But
what did we say last week? He had to take advantage last week. And yet the crazy thing is he finished 3rd. So when we look at his history, we're going to go, wow, he's really good at Homestead, and look at the 3rd and all that. But the fact is, he did not have anywhere close to a winning car last week, and he needed to. And that just shows you how good he is at the track, that he had nothing, and he still finished 3rd.
Yeah. I mean, you could say Truex was faster, and Hamlin was faster, Larson was faster. There's 3 cars right there, which bumps him out of the top 6, just the top 5, just like that. So, yeah, he didn't have a 3rd place. He qualified 3rd and finished 3rd, but that's not he didn't have a 3rd place car.
Everything else in between, not good.
Yeah, I just don't see him pulling off a Christopher Bell like did last year, came out of nowhere and winning this race. So I don't see it. He's just not been good enough there, and not for 15-1. He should be more. Same way, if Logano was a playoff driver, you probably get 7-1. If he wasn't a playoff driver, he's probably I'd say 25 to 28 to 1 was
Yeah.
going to be one. Yeah.
And taking a look at now, you again, based on your situation, you did not put any money on any long shots. CJ, his longest shot was Reddick. I put money on 2 long shots, and there were a few others, like your Bowman will go over. But the 2 I did put, as far as, hey, could these 2 non-playoff drivers get in? Surprise, surprise. I put money on a Harvick. And I would not have if he wasn't driving a Ford. But since he's driving a Ford, and we know this is it. This is his last chance for a win this year in his retirement year. He does have a win here. Okay on the short tracks, mostly Richmond. Led 20 laps earlier this year, finishing 20th. But and I only mention that because it's the first time he's led laps on this racetrack since 2016. Not a good thing. Plus, the 18 to 1 is ridiculous. He's only 18 to 1, again, because everybody knows it. Because what we know is he wants to win one more time before otherwise, he would probably should be 25 to 1, something like that. Maybe even 30 to 1, because he hasn't done anything, especially with the new car. But again, I'm going to put some money on him because I can afford to, and he's a Ford. And then the other one I put money on was Gibbs, actually. So I put money on Gibbs at 28 to 1 because he really looked good on this track in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, and he was. And I agree with Harvick, too. This is his last shot, too, to win, right? I mean, he's not won a Championship 4 race. They've been won by Championship 4 drivers all these years. He's not doing that at Phoenix next week. And
unless 3 drivers, like the 3 championship drivers, wreck, and there's one other out there, and he's it. And okay, well, he's going to win anyway, so I'll try to win the race. Yeah.
Yeah, because he should, as you said, his numbers to Martinsville are pretty much what like Truex is the Daytona. I mean, you look at, he's got 2 top 5s in his last 22 Martinsville starts. So 18 to 1 is not yeah, he should be 28, 30 to 1. Like he's been a lot of races 30, 35 to 1. So it shocked me he was 18. But as you said, Stuart Haas was good in the spring race. Briscoe was good. Priest was good. Why shouldn't he be good? Especially he's got nothing to lose other than he wants to help Blaney. Ford is probably going to send a directive out to all the drivers. We've got to get Blaney in. Do what you can do the better they are up front, the more spots it's going to push the other guys behind. So Harvick, you could go off strategy with him if you need to try to make a play for the lead and look out in a caution. So yeah, this is it for him. So and then my Bowman, he's got 3 top 6s in his last 6 at Martinsville. Okay. He won this race in 2021. He was 11th in the spring. I know he's not done anything on the season, but it goes back to that Hendrick trend of all these second place finishes and how good they've been at Martinsville. And I just don't trust Chase Elliott, and I really don't trust Larson to necessarily win this week. Byron, but Bowman seems to be comfort here, and he hasn't won this season either. Nope. So for 45 to 1 for a guy that won this race 2 years ago, I thought was pretty favorable odds for a Hendrick car. When I mentioned that all the stat huts have been Hendrick, Penske, or Gibbs, and you're getting a Hendrick car for 45 to 1, that's a strong sleeper. Plus, at 45 to 1, you get better odds for a top 5 finish too out of somebody like that. So doesn't hurt to throw money his way.
And then the other long shots that I was looking at, but I knocked out, was Priest was one of them. Okay, well, why not? I mean, matter of fact, he's got the only good thing going for Ryan Priest this year was his short track program. That's it. So, because he was good at Richmond, and he had top 20s in all of them. So, and again, led 135 from the pole in this race this year. I was also taking a look at Briscoe because you're getting the big number with Briscoe as well. Not a huge number, though, but it's 35 to 1. And 5th in this race, led 109, as I said. And then Almirola was another one because he has 4 top 10s in his last 6 at Martinsville and has been pretty decent on the short tracks as well. So those were some of the long shots. And then I was also maybe considering Wallace. He's 45 to 1, I believe. And I was thinking because, he had a pretty good showing last week, even though, I mean, he looked really fast, surprisingly fast, qualifying in practice. Didn't really use that during the race, but did finish 6th. And he was 9th earlier this year. 2 top 10s with the new car at this racetrack. So those are some of the longer shots, but the odds actually weren't all that great considering some of the other races. We've seen these guys like at 80 and 90 and 100. Who knows? Maybe you'll get some of those numbers at your sports book. But anyway, other than that, nothing else. I mean, it was nice to see, AJ Allmendinger actually looked good last week and coming off a win a couple of weeks ago. So he's somebody that you might want to keep an eye on if he ends up in the playoffs next year at Homestead, because he seems to have a good record there.
He's the only driver at the next gen to have 2 top 5s at Homestead, 2 for 2. Nobody else has done that. So yeah, he's another one to watch, and that's if he's in the Cup Series. I heard he may be back in the Xfinity Series again.
Okay.
So,
by the way, I took Gibbs. He was 5th at Bristol, led 102 laps, all top 15s on the short tracks, and in the Xfinity Series, he in his 2022 the 2 races at Martinsville, he led a combined 299 laps, and led at least 18 laps in all 4 of his Xfinity Series races at this racetrack. Now, 18th this year, 19th last year, but right now, in the past couple of months, he's kind of raced a lot more confidently, and he's somebody that if he ends up qualifying decently and practicing decently, you definitely want to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, he's that driver too for going into next year that you kind of look, that NFL season, that team that the Lions last year, they got hot late and that's the team next year.
Yeah.
Gibbs is kind of that guy right now. 5th here, 7th here, 4th here. He's just kind of planting that seed for next season. Okay, now look what he did last year. Now let's see if he can do it again this year. So, yep.
And he hasn't no wins as a rookie. So,
nope.
And again, if somebody's going to win as a non-playoff driver, keep an eye on Gibbs. Okay, so we have one more to go to wrap it up. And then, as a matter of fact, our show will end October. So we will, because right now the way things are looking, like I said, next week will more than likely be the last show. If we do a post-season show, we'll let you know next week. We'll let you know about that. We probably will do one, but we'll just kind of update you on the logistics of that. And again, whether we can do it live next week or not, that's something that we will talk about. And then we collectively will talk and then let everybody know on Discord. So check out the Discord channel. That's the best way of letting you know. And of course you can, and that's also going to be something that we're going to update. So we're going to update the Discord. So it'll, and I think it's actually with the channel, the fact that we're going to be doing now an all motorsports channel, that's something that I'm sure will be boosted up as well. So you might just want to get on that Discord channel. The sooner the better. And then as soon as we can let everybody know about some of the stuff that we haven't let them know about, they should be pretty happy as well. So
yeah,
and
looking forward to that one.
Yeah. So we'll let everybody know next week. Thanks a lot for tuning in once again. Don't forget Mystery Caution YouTube channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you over there on next week's show. Anything else before we go?
No, I think we covered it all today.
All right. Sounds good. Eric, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep. Talk to you then.